Welcome to Tips for the Transition, where we have deep, meaningful conversations about life. We talk about how significant changes like divorce, grief, and career change can affect us, our family, our relationships, and our work, and how to move beyond them. I'm your host, Maria Tomás-Keegan, certified career and life coach for women, and I'm here to support you through the messy seasons of life so you can answer big questions like who am I now and how do I move on from here? If you're ready to consider new options, be inspired, and meet incredible women who are on this life journey with us, you're in the right place. You'll find something in each episode to give you hope and encourage you to move from panic to powerful, from rocky to resilient, and from upside down to right side up. This is Tips for the Transition. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on Tips for the Transition, the Career Roadmap podcast today. We come to you live every Wednesday on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And then the next day on all of your favorite audio podcast channels. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, your host, and I'm a career and life coach for women. And my mission is to create resources that help women navigate career and life challenges with more ease and grace, and to know that they are not alone. So each weekly conversation I have with inspiring women is intended to help women around the world navigate with more confidence, resilience, and a feeling of being brave so that they can show up better in their careers and their life. So if something that you hear today strikes a chord, and you want more information or to connect with my guest or me, take a look at the show description below the video, and you'll find all kinds of links that will help you connect to us. So today we are going to talk about trust. My guest says that it's the secret ingredient to successfully achieving your goals. And I believe that trust is fundamental to showing up authentically in our lives and careers, trusting ourselves and trusting others. So when I met Genevieve Joy and we talked about trust, I knew I had to bring her on the show and share her perspective with you. So let me tell you just a little bit about her. Genevieve Joy has traveled from victim to warrior as she overcame multiple debilitating health conditions that experts said were incurable. And as if that wasn't enough, she walked away from a 14-year abusive marriage and completely transformed herself from a suicidal abuse victim to an empowered woman who truly loves herself and her life. And that means she had to learn to trust herself again. Now she's on a mission to make the world a better place by giving women the tools they need to overcome any problem, no matter how impossible the odds, so that they can heal their inner wounds, take control over their life, and become warrior women. So let me bring Genevieve on with us. Hello, Genevieve.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. I am really excited about talking about trust because it's not something a lot of people are talking about these days. And I think it's an important subject. I want to get your perspective on it. So let's get started. Why is it so hard for some people to achieve their goals and successfully complete a transition from where they are now to where they want to be? I talk about that a lot with my clients. You start where you are, you figure out where you want to go. But why is it so hard for people to achieve those goals, in your opinion?
Yeah. So for me, I realized, back in that moment when I finally made the decision to leave that abusive marriage, even though at that time I believed that I didn't really deserve better treatment that I was getting, and that making a better life for myself and my kids wasn't really possible. I came to a point where I realized if I don't do something about this, my kids are probably going to grow up and repeat these patterns, because all of a sudden I became aware that the patterns in my marriage were just a repeat of the patterns that I'd experienced in my relationship with my parents. And those were a repeat of the patterns that they'd experienced in their relationship with their parents. So it was clear that there was a big generational pattern here that needed to be undone. So for me and for the women that I help, it's clear that it's not enough just to know where you want to go, right? For me, I needed to know, who was I being that I am never gonna be again, and what was I doing to get to that place so that I can never do those things again, right? And that's really the crux of what I do, is understanding those emotions, beliefs, and the past experiences that are causing women to feel unfulfilled right now, to make you want something bigger, right? Because the truth is, there's a reason why your current reality isn't really doing it for you anymore. There's a reason why you want something more than what you have. And that emotional baggage doesn't just go away the minute that you get clear on what you want to have instead. So if you don't take care of that emotional stuff, you're then forced to drag it with you on your journey to getting from where you are now to where you want to be. And I think two things can happen here. One, it can make the process of getting your goals feel so difficult if that baggage is really, really heavy, like it was for me, that for purposes, it can feel impossible. Or then two, if you're able to like willpower your way through and push hard enough for long enough, you could end up getting what you want, or at least a piece of it, right? Only to see it kind of boomerang right back out of your life again, because there isn't energetic space for that life you desire in your current life, because that emotional baggage has taken up too much room for you. And I really believe that there are a couple of simple reasons why people don't do that, emotional healing work, to truly heal those emotions, beliefs, and past experiences that are causing them to feel chronically unhappy and unfulfilled in the present moment. First, I think that they just don't really have the tools to get the job done. And I think too, it's again that they really haven't made a clear commitment about who they're never going to be again and why. I've seen women who know what they want and they go for it. And even women who will do some emotional healing work, but they haven't gotten clear on what really caused it. What were they doing and who were they being that contributed to that situation? And so sometimes they can go forward bravely and then recreate those old patterns in brand new ways. And I think that can be the most frustrating thing of all, because then you finally get, a glimpse of what life can be like without that old problem. And then here it comes again in a new way. And then, it can cause you to just feel like, well, what was all that for? So, and that was something that I'd experienced in my life for a really, really long time. And once I got the tools that I needed that actually worked to heal that emotional baggage, then I could really put it behind me. And that's what enabled me to, I had a chronic pain condition that I'd had since I was 2 years old called interstitial cystitis. And it became so intense with the stress of my 14-year marriage, abusive marriage, that I would either throw up or pass out, when that pain became really, really intense. And, with 3 kids, life is pretty hard to lead if you're throwing up and passing out all the time, right? But because of these tools, in one session, I was able to make that pain completely go away. That was 2017. I have not experienced a single minute of that pain since. And so there are, times where you can create instantaneous healing like that. And other times where you just release a big pattern and you just feel so much lighter and like you have more energy and ease and flow. And that enables you to take action, to see your situation from a new perspective and move forward in new ways, right?
Yeah.
So we can get both.
Yeah, that's that preamble, if you will, there's packed with great stuff. And I want to peel it back just a little bit.
Mhm.
So it seems to me that, I get what you say when you say that you have to understand uh, who you are being and what you are doing, or who you have been and what you have done to get you where you are. So that's a state of awareness. And it has to start there. We
Yep.
have to be aware that we're not happy, and what it is that's making us unhappy, right?
Yep.
Before we can actually decide that enough is enough and we got to make some changes here,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
Exactly.
it's that
And
awareness. So
And I think having that, I'm so sorry, having that awareness too, I think is what allows you as you're going forward and you're faced with big choices, you can say, hold on a second, does this fall into the category of who I used to be? Well, then that's a definite no for me. Because those
right,
old patterns can feel really safe at an unconscious level. You'd never consciously
yeah,
want to recreate that. But
yeah.
at an unconscious level, it's like the devil that you know, right?
And
So,
that's a trap we so easily can
yep.
fall back into because it's so familiar and comfortable, and we may not like it,
Mhm.
but we know it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So
Exactly.
true. Something occurs to me as I'm hearing you talk about um, this desire to move forward. And you said something early on about you not feeling worthy of having more than you have because, again, it was familiar, right? It was all you knew.
Yep.
So that's what you figured you deserved.
Mhm.
So what comes up for me is this idea of, it's frequently called imposter syndrome, and I hear it a lot with my clients. I've experienced it myself, but it can keep us stuck. So let's talk about trust, and what role does trust play in moving past that block of not believing we deserve?
Yeah. So here's something that I really had to learn the hard way. um, and that is that there's fear that is not necessarily beneficial for us, right? And that's, overwhelming fear that we've held on to from our past that's causing us to feel inappropriate levels of fear in the present moment. That's one thing that we need to deal with. That's not the same kind of thing as feeling the normal kind of fear that comes with doing something new. This is what's happening when we experience that thing we call imposter syndrome, right? Where we
Mm,
want to do something new, but we're like, I feel afraid that I don't really have what it takes or that I can't really make it happen. That's different. And the truth of the matter is, it's only happening because you haven't done it yet. You're not yet the kind of person who has what you want because only because you haven't done it yet. And that kind of fear isn't going to go away fully until you're on the other side, until you get that big desire, right? So I see a lot of women, spinning out at go because they're trying to find a way to get that fear totally gone. And they just simply don't realize that fear is a motivating energy. So if you can, get rid of all of the fear from your past that's causing you to feel inappropriate levels of fear in the present moment, then you can really discern between, like, okay, is this fear normal and it's just part of moving forward and it's fine, and I can know that it means that I'm about to move into a really incredible new level of life and I can just use it and keep on going. Or if this is a red flag and there's something going on here that I need to really look at and I need to stop, right, and pay attention to what's going on. So those
yeah.
are two very, very different things, but you it's difficult for you to know what kind of fear is this until you've healed that, all of that, fear baggage from your past.
So bringing trust into this conversation, it's a matter then of trusting that you know the difference between what was the old baggage kind of fear
Yeah.
and what is that new sense of um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm not sure I deserve where I think I want to go. I'm not that imposter syndrome kind of stuff. And I love that you said that kind of fear can be a motivator
Oh, yeah.
if you allow it to
Mhm.
not to be that and not hold you back
Yeah.
because you think you shouldn't have any.
That's right. So once you trust yourself, right? And you get to that point where you can do it one of two ways, really, right? You can either be like, what I've experienced in the past is so horrific. I really don't care what's on the other side of this. I just don't ever want that anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
willing, as long as my current reality changes, I'm good, right? You can do that. Or you can say to yourself, I deserve more. I deserve to have a wonderful life, not because of any reason other than I exist on this earth, and all
Right.
people deserve to feel truly happy and fulfilled 100% of the time. And therefore, I deserve to have what I want, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also, the nuances of trust where you start taking baby steps. You listen to your intuition, right? As it calls you forward, and you just start taking little baby steps on the road to getting your big desire, and
Right.
you realize, right, and you start building up those trust muscles. So we need to have trust in your ability to do what it takes and successfully reach the other side. Trust in the processes that are going to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Trust that what's waiting for you on the other side of all this effort is actually better than what you have now,
And
and
worth it.
that it's worth it, right?
And worth it. Right.
And
Yeah.
all of this has nothing to do with anybody else. You don't ever
Right.
need to put your trust in anybody else. If you have enough trust in yourself, what other people do is completely irrelevant. And that was a really big thing for me to know, because obviously I have a ton of trauma in my past. And for a long time, I thought, in order for me to get better, all these people who hurt me really and did some horrible things my whole life, well, they're all going to need to like fess up, and they're going to need to make it right with me in order for me to move on. And then I realized, well, that's probably never going to happen. So what does that
Right.
mean for
So, yeah.
me?
So, what do you say to people who are in a situation like that, who have
Mhm.
experienced that kind of trauma
Yep.
from people in the past who have violated their trust? What do you say
Yep.
to them?
Yeah. I feel you. I've been
Mm,
there. I understand this feeling. I really, really do. And it doesn't mean what you think it means. It really and truly doesn't. You don't need anybody else to do or say or be anything for you. Once you heal this emotional baggage, you instantly get hope, and that hope for the future, and then taking very small, brave actions towards your desire. That's what gives you that trust in yourself. It's trust in your intuition. In order to be, in an abusive situation, no matter what that looks like, a situation where you're being taken advantage of and, victimized in some way, you really do have to turn the volume knob down on your intuition, and start saying to yourself, I can't listen to my inner guidance anymore, because for some reason I feel like I need to stay in this situation. So trust is really about turning that volume knob back up, right? And then taking small baby steps that'll eventually allow you to have so much trust in yourself that you feel good about taking big steps, right? That's
yeah.
ultimately what that is. And so
Yeah.
once you do that, you get enough trust in yourself, other people can do all sorts of things. And the truth of the matter is, my ex-husband still tries to do stuff all the time. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work because I trust myself.
Right, right. And it's when you turn the volume down on all of the people who are trying to influence
Mhm,
you in a
mhm.
way that you no longer want to be influenced, and turn the volume up
Yeah,
on your inner knowing, on
that's
your
right.
inner wisdom, your
Mhm.
intuition, so
Yep.
that you're hearing and it's guiding you
Mhm.
more than others are guiding you. So let's talk about, a lot of people I think that trust is an all or nothing kind of thing. But what does it really look like to have that level of trust that it takes to set our goals, whether they are in our career or in our life, to set our goals and really and achieve them.
Yeah. So I got stuck in this place too, right? Once I started realizing that like it doesn't matter what happens in the future, I've just got to find a way to keep going. I felt like, well, I need to do 100% of this. I need to have 100% levels of confidence, and I need to have 100% trust, and I need to have this this wonderful, beautiful plan, and then I can move forward. Well, that just didn't happen for me, and I'm way on the other side of that problem, and sometimes I still don't feel 100% confident. And the thing that I have come to know is true is that we only need to be more confident and more trusting than we are not confident and not trusting. And more is just 1% more. That's it. If you can trust yourself 1% more than you don't trust yourself, then that tips the scale in your favor. And that what it also allows you to do is to, have an awareness and look at all those times when you're feeling unconfident, and you can just say, it doesn't matter because I trust myself more than I don't. And so, just having that level of awareness allows you in and of itself to start building even more trust, because you can look at the stuff that doesn't feel like trust and confidence and say, it's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter anymore. And it just starts to fade into the distance. And the other piece about this is you only need to trust yourself more than you don't, 1% more than you don't, 1% of the time more than you don't. So if you feel like you don't have enough confidence, and you're, unconfident all the time, and you don't have enough trust in yourself for a lot of the time, it's okay. All you need is 1% more. That's it. And just choosing to look back at little tiny baby situations, where
Yeah.
you made one little choice and it made you feel good. That's 1%. That's it. That's all you need.
And I love the way you're framing this, because um, I know a lot of people who think either you trust or you don't trust. Either you trust yourself or you don't trust yourself. That is never the case. It's
Mm-mm.
never that black and white. I
No.
love the way you framed it. It's just, it's small steps. Trust yourself to do this one little thing,
Mm-hmm.
do it well,
Mm-hmm.
and you gain confidence and you believe in yourself, right?
That's it.
Just 1% more than you did yesterday.
Yep.
Just 1% more than you did before you tried this one
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
It's a great way to frame it. It's not like I have to trust myself implicitly forever and ever. Amen.
Nope.
And
Mm-mm.
that's a big goal that's probably for most human beings unattainable. So don't set yourself up to fail, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think
Love
there's
that.
that a lot of people have this misconception that it's like, well, if I do all this emotional healing work, then I should never, I don't know, feel sad or, experience a challenge ever again. And I mean, I hate to break it to you, but that's just not the way it works here.
We are human beings here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not the way it
Yeah.
works. So if you
We're all
can look
human.
at those challenges and say, we hear this and it's kind of become a platitude, right? But it's like, this is an opportunity. But the fact of the matter is, it really and truly is. We can just cruise through life and think this is great. But the truth is, we're not yet where we can be, right? And in order to get to where we can be, you need to have an awareness of the things that are keeping you from being where you can be. And so those challenging situations are those things that are holding you back, coming to the surface to like rub you the wrong way a little bit, to get you to say, hey, here's a thing that you can release so you can get over there, right? That's all it is. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong in the past that's causing
Right.
this thing. That's what I used to think. Like if I experienced something
Yeah.
hard, then I'm like, well, I screwed up somewhere back there. I guess it's all over for me. That's not it at all. That's not it at all.
Mm-mm.
They're just little things that can help you. And if you have the tools you need to handle that stuff, it like nothing can mess with you ever again. It's
Right.
beautiful.
You touched on it. You haven't said the word, but you've touched on the idea of when you are aware that where you are and how you got here, who you were being and what you were doing that got you here. There's a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen if you can really more easily move forward.
Yeah.
Just forgiving yourself
Mm-hmm.
for whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was, what you were doing, what you were being that got you here,
Mm-hmm.
and forgive everybody else who had a role in it, not because they deserve to be forgiven, but you do, right?
That's right.
You
Yeah.
deserve to have that burden lifted so that
Yeah.
you can just, like you were saying, it just, it doesn't matter. It just
Yeah.
doesn't matter anymore.
That's right.
I'm here. This is where I am, and this is where I start from.
That's right. And, it was interesting for me, when I was living in that abusive marriage and I was just trying to get through moment by moment by moment. Right. And then, I got some distance from that. And I had a moment where I looked back and I went, oh my goodness, what kind of mother am I that
Mm,
I let myself and my kids live in that situation for so long? Did I screw them up permanently? Like I can't even believe I did that, right?
right.
And then I get to look at that situation and say, hold on a second. Was I really doing the best that I could then? Yeah. Yep.
Given
That
what
was
you
the
knew at the
best that
time.
I could do. Mhm. Yep, that
Yep.
was the best that I could do back then. And now I can do something different, and I'm doing the best that I can do right now. And there may be things that I can probably guarantee you there will be things that as I go, 5 years in the future, I look back and I could go, man, that could have been different, but it was the best I could have done at the time. And that
Right.
makes it perfect.
And
That makes it perfect.
that's the first step in just forgiving yourself, just giving yourself the grace
Yep.
that you did the best you could, given what you knew at the time,
Yep.
given your circumstances, given all of that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now you have a different choice to make. And that's all
That's
it
right.
is. It's just making a different choice for yourself.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
let's talk about what the difference is between those you were talking about, intuition, those intuitive nudges we might get,
Yeah.
compared to, and those might guide us forward, and compared to the things we might feel that are fear, or maybe those old beliefs that we harbor,
Yeah.
that might be trying to hold us back. How do we discern the difference?
Yeah. So this is really about paying attention. If you're going through your life on autopilot, then your unconscious mind, the place where all of your, unconscious programming, your limiting beliefs, your negative emotions, where all that stuff lives, that stuff is going to be in the driver's seat for you. And if you are not making it a regular practice to ask yourself, what's really going on here? What's the big picture and what's going on underneath the surface? Then old fears are going to take over for you. So, the way to tell the difference is to make it a daily practice to pay attention to your life. And once you get the tools you need to heal all that fear from the past, then it becomes a lot easier to discern, to ask yourself that question, what's this really all about? And get a much clearer answer, right? And then, the other thing, that's a kind of a big picture thing, is I use a pendulum all of the time. I use it multiple times a day. Anytime where I'm faced with a big choice, is this choice right for me? Is that choice right for me? And it creates this conscious, unconscious integration where I'm able to get conscious confirmation of the intuitive hits that I had that I kind of thought were right. And that really allows me to guide me forward. And then when I take action on those intuitive nudges, then I get to build up that trust muscle even more. So I just feel more and more confident, more and more trusting in myself. As I move forward. But I really believe that the key is paying attention to your life, making that a regular practice. And then when you have moments where you start to feel a little bit funky, stop. Do not make choices. Don't act in this moment. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? Is the emotion that I'm feeling appropriate to this situation? That's, I think, the big question. Is this emotion appropriate to the situation that I am experiencing? If the answer is yes, then something in this situation needs to change. I either need to leave or I need to do something to change the situation, right? Or I'm experiencing an inappropriate level of emotion, which means this is stuff from my past that's coming up to be dealt with now.
I like that. That's a pretty simple and pretty practical approach.
Yeah.
I believe in the power of the pause. People who follow me know have heard me say that hundreds of times before, because it is truly what helps us break the cycle, right? Of whatever it is we might be caught up in, whether
Yeah.
it's big emotion, or a toxic situation. And all of this is all relatable to whether you're struggling with situations within your career or in relationships or in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
These are all great tips
Mm.
for people to just think about. It's, be aware, take the pause,
Yeah.
and consider. And I love the way you put that. Consider whether this is emotion that's appropriate to what's going on here and now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, figure out what you need to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or no,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that's rearing its ugly head again from my past.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you get to say, I decided that wasn't going to happen anymore.
Mm-hmm. What am I going to do about it?
What am I going to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think there's one little piece here too that, kind of gets a bad rap a little bit. And that is, this whole idea of like sensitivity. I just don't use that word anymore, right? Like, when it comes to like emotional sensitivity, I call it awareness. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because the
I
fact
agree.
of the matter is, once you build up your trust muscle, you can't miss those signs. You are going to be very, very sensitive, right? When you walk into a situation, you're going to know like something about this is not right for me. And that feeling
Yeah.
is going to get more intense and more intense until you do something about it, right? And that is a benefit for you. That's a benefit
Right.
for you. And that's a benefit for everybody around you. So
Because
no.
now that's
Mhm.
right. So now that when you are aware, and your awareness is heightened, right?
Mhm.
As you get better at this,
Mhm.
but that's when you get to make a choice.
Yeah.
Whereas you didn't make choices to improve your situation when you were back in that toxic relationship or when you were back in that toxic work environment,
Yeah.
whatever that was. Maybe you didn't make the choices then,
Mhm.
but now you're aware that you
Mhm.
have a choice
Yeah.
and you get to make it. You get to shift things. Yeah, I love
Exactly. And it makes it so that like you rarely end up in a situation where you're asking yourself, how in the world did I end up here? It's
right,
not a mystery because you can
right.
go back and say, well, I really felt like that was off and I didn't do anything about
Yeah,
it. That's why.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Okay, we have one last thing that we have to do here on this show. It's how I end every episode, um, where my guests bring us practical tips and techniques. Um, and that's why we call the show Tips for the Transition. So I know you have more tips for us, Genevieve, but I want to ask you about one of them. What can someone do right now to increase their trust in themselves?
Yeah. The answer is always to take aligned action. If you want something new, you're going to have to do something new to get it. This doesn't mean that you have to go and throw your whole life out and just start all over, right?
Yeah,
Just ask yourself right now, what would cause me to feel truly happy and truly fulfilled in this moment? And how can I have just a piece of that right now? Just a little piece, and give yourself that, right there. It's just about taking that aligned action. And here's the thing, people can get, if you've been living in a way where you're not allowing yourself to take aligned action, you're not trusting in yourself, even that question of like, what makes me happy can feel so nebulous, right? And so foggy for a lot of people. I've been
Right.
there and I understand that, right?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is a magic question that you can ask yourself to get the motivation that you need to overcome that normal fear that comes with doing new things and to get clarity on what really is going to make you happy. And it works 100% of the time. And that is it's kind of a two-part thing. First, what's most important to me in life? These are your top values. When you take action that is aligned with your values, you will feel fulfilled. You will get something positive out of this 100% of the time. For me, being a good mother is the most important thing for me. It always has been. And that is the thing that got me to leave that marriage and just say, I do not care what happens anymore. I've got to do what it takes to be a good mother, because I feel like I'm not really doing that right now.
Right.
And that has always been my driving force, because it is still to this day my number one value. And the next question you can ask yourself is, how will doing this new thing help me to get more of what's most important to me in life? Right? And then keep asking yourself, how else? How else? How else? And you keep asking yourself that question until you feel so juiced up that you got to do something. You can't just sit here anymore.
Well, and when you keep asking yourself that question, what else? What else? What else?
Mm-hmm.
You create a momentum,
Yep.
and you create goals.
Yep.
So if that's what you really want, now you set yourself a little goal.
That's right.
And you trust yourself to achieve it, and you build your confidence, and you flex your muscle.
That's right.
You can't help when you approach it that way.
Yep.
You can't help but make progress in the direction of your dream, to be happier, to be a better mother, to be whatever it is you value most.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And there's an opposite question you can ask yourself too. If, like, for me, when I was in that lowest point, that question was really good, but it wasn't enough. The question that really, really did it for me, because I felt so awful, was, how will not taking this action keep me from getting the thing that's most important to me? Once I answered that, it was like, no brainer. I have to do this. I have to do this. It doesn't matter how scary it feels. I have to do it now.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if you don't, you get to stay right where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're unhappy there, right,
Mm-hmm.
that's a choice in and of itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Choosing not to change something is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And
It is a choice.
if that makes you happy, okay. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're not happy doing that, now you have a different choice to make. So
And
yeah.
I actually believe that we don't actually stay the same. We actually feel worse, because
Absolutely.
as soon as you realize
Yeah,
that you have a desire for more, you have already entered into the land of unfulfillment.
that's
And
right.
you're not supposed to live there. You are designed to feel happy and fulfilled all of the time. So that feeling of discontent and unfulfillment and dissatisfaction is going to get more intense to give you the motivation you need to get out,
Yeah,
to keep
yeah,
going, right? So we
yeah.
don't stay the same, we feel worse.
We could talk about this for a long time. I think that the point we want to make here is that everyone deserves to feel happy, to trust themselves,
Yeah.
so if you're in a situation that makes you unhappy, um, the awareness is already there if you're feeling that. So you get to make some choices now. And Genevieve has given us some great questions to ask. So Genevieve, we could talk about this for hours, you and I, but we have to draw it to a close here. So I know that some of our guests are, some of our viewers are going to want to get in touch with you. So let's tell them how to do that.
One of the best ways to get in touch with me is to find me over on Instagram at I am Genevieve Joy.
That's perfect. Okay. So the best place to get her is on Instagram. Thank you so much, Genevieve. I really appreciate your being here. I loved this conversation.
Me too. Thank you so very much for having me. This is wonderful.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. So, for those of you who are listening or watching, I really appreciate your being here. Thank you for being a part of our community. And as I said at the top of the show, I create these episodes as resources for for you and for women who are challenged by these just unbalanced times we're living in, so that you can go attack them with a bit more ease and grace with the tips and techniques that you learn here. So if something resonates, as I said before, take a look at the ways to get in touch with Genevieve or me that are in the show notes below the video, and reach out to us through our emails or our blogs or our books on our websites, whatever it may be that could help you. Also, we could continue this conversation on my private Facebook group called The Career Roadmap. And that link is below the video as well. So I believe it's our time to thrive. Will you join me on that ride and join me here every Wednesday? I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, turning transition into triumph.